I would love to introduce the first panelist to you. Sumit Mitra, who you might have seen this morning, is known for helping people strive for excellence and success in an inclusive and inspirational culture. As CEO for Tesco's Global Business Services and CEO of Tesco in India, he's passionate about digital transformation. He's a strategic thinker experienced in leading organizational turnarounds. Before joining Tesco, he conceptualized and executed BT's GBS model and led 11,000 employees in 9 locations and many third-party vendors. Please welcome Sumit and his insights on creating shareholder value in GCCs.
Okay, let me kick off. I'm going to talk about creation of shareholder value through a world-class GBS model. But before I do so, it'll be shame if I don't talk about Tesco. How many of you heard about Tesco in this room? Can you put your hand up? This is pretty good. How many of you shop at Tesco or ever shopped at Tesco? Right, those of you who haven't, please start shopping. If you do like my presentation, you have to shop at Tesco. If you don't, you can go somewhere else. But there you go. So let me kick off talking about Tesco. We are around 330,000 colleagues. We are 60, slightly, our results are coming up. So it's about 62 billion, 63 billion revenue, 29% of food supply of UK, 60 million shopping trips per week. So that's who we are. We also have businesses like Tesco Mobile, which is the 4th largest mobile operator in the UK. We have the largest UK's cash and carry and wholesale business, which is called Booker. We have One Stop and then dunnhumby, the science and analytics. Those of you who've been in Gurgaon will know we have a big offices there. So that's what we do. So what do we do in India from a Tesco group perspective? So I'm going to share some volume, but I'm going to talk about what we actually do for Tesco. So in India, Tesco is here for 3 reasons. Number 1, we are in Tesco in Bangalore, which supports the Tesco group business, which we'll talk about in a minute. Second thing is we do Tesco sourcing, which is about buying linens and cotton across Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India. We also have, I talked about dunnhumby business. And the 4th thing is we also have a joint venture with the Tata Group. So if you heard of Star Hypermarkets, that's the 49, 51% joint venture that we have in India. Now let me focus my energy today on what we actually do in Tesco in Bangalore. So first of all, like any other, we started almost 21 years ago, would you believe? We have our own campus. It's a 15-acre campus. 100% of all our electricity, solar, all the water is recycled within the campus, and which makes us the greenest campus in Bangalore 9 years in a row. And then all the food waste is converted into biogas, which we help from a CSR perspective to the local families around. But yeah, so it gets converted. But let me talk about work. So we started with finance almost 20 years ago. Today, as we stand, if I fast forward, 85% of entire finance process of Tesco Group, from tax, treasury, FP&A, to right down to paying our suppliers, is managed from Tesco Bangalore. People, 5.8 billion pound of Tesco's payroll, pension, 110,000 recruitment across the globe for Tesco is done from Tesco Business Solutions. There are many other things we do in people services. I'm not going to spend too much time. On product and commercial, this is from setting up a supplier to doing a due diligence on a supplier, right down to commercial contract management, managing every single promotion. 1.2 million promotions for Tesco Group is managed out of Bangalore. Thinking about the entire commercial income of Tesco Group is managed through Tesco Bangalore. Engagement centers, 6.9 million customer contact across the world, including Facebook, Twitter, emails to our executive committee, chairman. It's all managed, voice, data. It's managed through between Bangalore and our centers in Dundee and Waterford and in Budapest. Property is very interesting. When you look at a Tesco store, anywhere in the world, the architectural design of that store sits in Bangalore. There's no architects anywhere else in Tesco. Civil engineering work, the civil engineers, program management of civil engineering sits here. The entire maintenance of 5,000 Tesco estate is managed through here. We have our own IoT solutions, which even measures fridge temperatures. It's managed through in Bangalore. Property valuation is managed here. The management of property partnerships that we have is managed through here. So it's a huge, huge portfolio that we manage, and about 13 billion of property estate, billion pounds of property estate is actually managed from here. And then finally, we set up the legal services, which is looking at legal work. These are UK trained lawyers who sit here and support the legal work for our UK colleagues. Now, why have we been successful? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but it's based on process, people, and technology. We have a unit called Applied Research, which looks at solving problems within the business, and these are mega problems, which I'll talk about in a minute. A culture, we've been awarded by the British Quality Foundation as the most sustained continuous improvement culture in any corporation in the world. It's 7.5 years of continuous improvement. The whole center is silver certified, and we're going to look at how do we go into gold and platinum. One thing I really like, what we have is what we call a possibility mindset, that everything is possible. Bring it on, we can do. We can solve any problem. Also, I'm a great believer of building content and context. It's very easy, we talked about earlier in the morning, it's very easy to build content. You can get chartered accountants, you can get AI experts, you can get property experts, you can get financial experts, but you can't buy is the business context. So to solve very complex problems of a business, you need to understand the business context. You need to understand how Tesco runs. Any of my team who visits UK, one of their absolute KPI is they should spend 1 day in store, actually understanding how a store runs, talking to our store colleagues, talking to our customers, understanding our processes that supports our stores, our head office. So it's really, really important that you understand the business context. And the last, which is sort of a game changer for us, is the decision science, which makes us intelligent. So we call it intelligent business solutions. It is about solving complex problem horizontally. It's no longer about I am finance, I am people services, I am commercial, or I am property. It's about how do you look at the experience end to end, whether it's customer experience, colleague experience, supplier experience. You can't say, oh, it's a finance team problem, not mine. So how do we look at our end-to-end process horizontally? I always say to anyone is think about 5 processes in front of you and 5 processes behind you in terms of how you run the business. And data science is the magic, which looks at our processes, uses the right know-how and skills, and looks at how do we solve this complex problem in partnership. Because if you have a data science team who doesn't talk to the business, you're not going to solve any problem. You're going to get products which is of no use to anyone. So therefore, what is important is how do you collaborate, how do you work, how do you partner with the markets, with the functions, with GBS as a whole. Now, the disruption is real. I talked about in this morning. You know, we thought we were doing very well in 2019-20, then COVID hit us. COVID created 500% volume increase for us. The day we announced lockdown in UK, 52,000 of our colleagues were reported vulnerable. So they had to stay at home, which means that we had to recruit 48,000 people in 2 weeks. That means there's payroll. That means volume increase, and we had to do that. So COVID wasn't a quiet time for us. COVID was our, we used to take 700,000 online orders a week. That went to 1.6 million in 3 weeks. So we had to get ready to make sure our picking goes up, make sure that our technology is ready to deliver this. Our processes are foolproof to deliver to our customers. So we thought, okay, COVID is finished, we can chill out now. What happened? We got the Ukraine war. Then there's something or the other happening. And very recently, obviously, you heard about the budget, et cetera, et cetera. Huge impact. The disruption is real. But how do we, it's very easy to get your head down and think, yeah, disruption is here. We can't just keep reinventing ourselves. But the challenge is not about the turbulence itself. The challenge is how do you reinvent yourself? Because if you use the same philosophy that you've used last year, it ain't going to work this year. So how do you reinvent? So I'm going to talk about that. These are some of the GBS industry trends that's going on at the moment. People talk about the talent war. I always say the war is over. Talent has already won the war, so there is therefore no war out there. We talk about under-challenged. I struggle with that. If the quality of work is really good, why are your colleagues under-challenged? If they're under-challenged, then you don't have the right work. How do you connect to the enterprise? Is that really a challenge? I think in 2018, I talked about having a seat on the table. And I've said, if you don't have a seat, bring yourself a deck chair and sit on it. But we have, all my leadership team actually reports into every single exec in the business. You know, the board members come in almost every month to see what we are doing here. Not only just Bangalore, but our global GBS. So there is a lot of, because we are an integral part of, we've been featured in our annual report. It shows the importance of where you are. So I look at this, but I don't recognize this. So let me talk about what's happening. So if you look at the disruption in technology, consumer trends, future of work, future skills, policy changes, you know, with change of presidents, et cetera, you see the policy changes. And that really changes the business dynamics. The business now have to think about new strategy, new product, new innovation, and how do you save to invest back into the business? As I said to you, we have a 600 million pound hit on our P&L this year without even getting out of bed. What does that mean? It means that we can't pass all that on to our customers. During difficult times, we have to stand by our customers, which means we have to save to invest. Business outcome for a GBS GCC is no longer KPIs, SLAs, are you doing it right? Are you driving efficiency? This is a nonsense conversation. That's a given. That's your brilliant basics. What you should be measured on is the incremental revenue in these difficult conditions that you're driving, incremental margin that you're creating. How are you improving your working capital so that we can free up cash to do share buyback, to free up cash to pay dividend so that your share price can go up? How do you build that resilience? So when things go wrong, things will go wrong. We are in choppy waters. So how do you build that resilience in your system to ensure that you are future-proof? And the last one is ESG and brand equity. How do you help? And I talked about connecting to the purpose. I talked about our campus in Bangalore. It's connecting to the purpose. 30% of our all new recruits nowadays in the last 1 year is Gen Z. So they want to be connected to the purpose. So you have to live your purpose every day. So what does GBS Value Proposition then becomes, or GCC Value Proposition becomes? It becomes very simple. It becomes incremental revenue, incremental margin, improved cash, and building resilience. But how do you do that? You do that by solving very complex business problems. I'm going to give you some examples. It's about cross-functional understanding. No longer, it's a heinous crime when you're sitting on so much data. You're looking at so many different processes and you're not delivering it. You're not leveraging that data. Data is the new oil. So if you don't harness that, then what are you doing? And the last one is AI for GBS. I said this morning, I don't want random violence. I don't want everybody to be an AI expert. It's a waste of time. I have a very clear who drives my AI strategy, very clear. And that's our Chief AI Officer. But what I am keen to do is all my colleagues within my business understand how AI can help them and how they can co-work with AI solutions. Now, how do you disrupt in GBS? This is an interesting slide I want to talk about. So we start with GBS, digitization, transformation, reinvention, and then applied research. Now, where you get the most value out of any problems is perpetual unknowns. The unknowns that exist in your business, nobody knows about. That's where the biggest value is. Everybody can solve known. What you know, you solve it, oh, let's get a medal out of it. No, that delivers 1x. But think about how do you research, how do you understand what your perpetual unknowns are, and how do you solve these problems? And I'll give you some examples of those perpetual problems. So the shift that every GCC needs to make is no longer about process. Process is important, but it's about experience. It's data to intelligent decision making. It's hyper automation to AI-led operations, which I'm going to talk about. Head count to skill count. Who cares whether you have 5,000 people, 6,000 people? I don't care. If I add everything together, today I should be sitting on 9,800 people. We have 4,200. So it's no longer about headcount, it's about the skills, the capability that you build for the future. It's no longer about function and silos, it's about an ecosystem, which I talked about this morning, and compliance. Focus to assurance. If you don't manage your controls, if you don't manage your compliance, if you can't assure them or predict, that's where AI can help you. If you can't predict your problems, your control gaps, you do not have the right to sit on the table. What that gives you is the right to sit on the table, and then you can solve for big, big problems. So what I'm going to do today is talk about 4 real clear themes of value generation. First one, AI. I talked about in the breakfast meeting this morning, so I'm going to talk about, we think about AI in sort of 3 ways. Number 1, we see it as a Superman or a superwoman, which is about, there are certain things in this planet that humans shouldn't do. What are those? What are those use cases? And get AI to do it. The second one is a cyborg, where there are certain things humans shouldn't do, could do, but shouldn't do, but they can free themselves up to gain more skills to do more value-added job, to solve more problems. They should do certain things, but they shouldn't do it. They could do, but shouldn't do. And the last one is where you're Iron Man. Imagine you're putting on the Iron Man suit and the AI is helping you to solve very complex problem and making you look pretty cool. Yeah, Iron Man is pretty cool, I think. So that's how we think about AI, and rather than random violence and thinking about, oh my God, is it generative AI? Is it machine learning? Is it neural networks? Oh my God, this confuses the hell out of me. To me, it's here to solve business problems. And these are the specific problems that we have, and how do I build capability to solve these problems? It's a complex slide. I don't want to spend too much time. All I'm going to say is we build squads. We look at business problems. Our analytics team points to issues. The business team works together with the analytics team to say, what is my problem? And then the applied research team comes together to say, what is that problem? Where does it originate? How do we do this? How do we solve for it? It's not about, I need this. Can you give me a tool for this? It's about solving complex problem is the first thing. How do you partner with the business to solve complex problem through an applied research mentality? And for that, if you want to work with an ecosystem, fine. If you want to work with a startup, that's fine. If you want to use your talent, it's fine. But you need subject matter expertise to solve those problems. Building human capital is no longer about, I'm a finance specialist, I'm an AI specialist. It's about an ecosystem. It's about business partnering. How do you become a business partner? How do you identify problems? How do you design solutions? How do you manage change? And how do you actually understand the impact of the change? And that's the future capability of GBS. It's not, I'm a finance guy, I'm going to sit here and do FP&A reporting. You are everything. Unless you build that capability, you ain't going to move GBS forward to solve your problems. Building assets. Assets that you can have your own IP. So what we did, one of our solutions was building a cash monitoring engine. Tesco, as you can imagine, it's a 63, 64 billion pound business. Our finance team and our analytics team sat together and built this solution called a continuous cache monitoring engine. It sits on our processes and monitors our cache. At any time, we understand where the clogs are, and we are able to release cache when we need it, how we need it, when our CFO needs it. And we can do this globally. So that's a fantastic, which has gone for patenting at the moment. This is an amazing story that you can, and this came from perpetual unknown. Unknown in terms of we didn't know how the whole cash flow works from a Tesco group perspective. Because it's a complex business. Retail sounds simple, but it's complex. Next one, I'll talk about product quality. We're sitting on this data. Typically, what a GBS would do is answer customer calls and say, I've got rid of the customers. Nobody calls you to say, my Apple is fantastic. People call you because they have a problem, and each problem is a feedback. People are tweeting. There are 200,000 tweets that goes on about Tesco. People are writing emails. People are talking to our store managers as a feedback. So we collect them. For every single product that we have on our shelf, we know how our product is doing. We know how our competitors' sentiment is on those products. We know which supplier is delivering those products, and we know what we need to tweak to improve product quality. We have it for 30,000 products that we have in Tesco. And this is not built in isolation. This is built in partnership with operations. And if you look at any Cantor report, will tell you how our product quality perception has gone up quarter and quarter in the last 1 year. You should look at that data. And finally, this is the way you should, it's disappeared, unleash the power of GBS. Power of GBS is not people, it's not process, it's not AI, it's not technology, it's not anything. It's how do you bring that ecosystem together to create that untapped value that sits within the business. And here is a proof point of what has happened to Tesco shares in the last 2 years, as if by magic. It's not by chance. It happens through a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and unlocking those perpetual unknowns and unlocking that untapped value that sits within your process, people, and technology. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.